Hello everyone, and welcome back to Sun Moon Audiobook, the channel where we share wisdom and inspiring book journeys to help you grow and develop your best self, inside and out. There is a creature that follows each of us, not in the outside world, but in the quiet corners of our minds. It waits, stubborn and unyielding, feeding on hesitation and fear. The more we avoid it, the louder it croaks, the larger it grows, until it seems to shadow every choice we make. Yet the moment we face it directly, the moment we choose to swallow it whole, its power dissolves and what once felt like a weight becomes the very key to our freedom. Brian Tracy has spent his life studying those choices. He is a man who has seen struggle, who has walked paths of uncertainty, and who has dedicated his voice to teaching millions that success is not a secret code, but a pattern of decisions repeated with discipline. His book, Eat That Frog, is not just a guide on productivity, it is a whisper of encouragement, a strong yet gentle reminder that if you learn how to face the hardest, heaviest task first, the one you resist, the one you dread, you unlock a momentum that changes everything. The frog is the symbol of that dreaded task, the thing you want to avoid, but know you must face. And to eat it is to step into your own courage. There is a truth here that sounds simple but holds depth. If you begin your day by eating the frog, then nothing worse can come after. Imagine waking and swallowing that challenge whole suddenly. The rest of your day feels lighter, cleaner, free of the weight that would otherwise follow you like a shadow. The frog is not just a task, it is fear. It is delay. It is resistance made flesh. And every day asks the same question. Will you devour it, or will you let it sit there, croaking loudly in your mind, keeping you from peace? The heart of Tracy's teaching is clarity. Before you can act with power, you must know where to act. Many drift through their hours busy but not directed, like leaves scattered by the wind. But clarity is like a compass. When you know what truly matters, your energy begins to align. Think of an archer with 1,000 arrows but no target, pulling back the bow again and again, exhausting themselves but hitting nothing. Now picture an archer with only 3 arrows, yet a clear bullseye in sight. Which one feels more powerful, more precise, more alive? That is the power of focus, and it begins with defining your goals, seeing the frog for what it is, and deciding, this is what matters most. To see this clearly, you must ask yourself again and again, what is my highest value? What is the task that, if completed, would move me forward more than any other? The danger is not doing too little, it is doing too much of what does not matter. Busy hands can still create an empty life. And so, Tracy urges you to step back, to breathe, to think, to choose. There is power in choosing. There is freedom in saying no to the noise and yes to the thing that will change your tomorrow. Once the clarity comes, the courage must follow. Because the frog is never easy. It is not the small, comfortable chore you can do with half your attention, the quick box you can tick to feel accomplished. It is often the thing you avoid precisely because it matters most. Writing that proposal, making that phone call, starting that project that terrifies you because it could fail or worse, because it could succeed and demand more of you. The frog demands growth, and growth demands discomfort. But there is a strange alchemy here. When you confront the discomfort head-on, you shrink its power over you. What was once a monstrous shadow becomes something you can hold, something you can finish, something that will liberate you once it is done. There is a story many know of Mark Twain, who first used the phrase about eating a frog. He said, if you ever have to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning, because then the hardest part of your day is already behind you. Tracy took this image and breathed into it a philosophy of living. It is not only about mornings or tasks, it is about facing what you resist, so that your days are not ruled by avoidance, but by agency. And agency, dear listener, is the quiet essence of freedom. You, who are listening right now, know what your frog is. Perhaps you've been circling it for weeks, maybe months. Perhaps it is that project you have promised yourself you would begin, or the conversation you know you must have, or the discipline you have long delayed. You hear its croak in the silence of the night, in the pause between your scrolling, in the ache of regret that whispers, "Why didn't I start sooner?" And yet there is also another voice, gentler but firmer, saying, "You can. Today. Now." This is the voice Tracy amplifies, the one he wants you to hear louder than the croak of hesitation. He teaches that procrastination is the thief of dreams. Every delay is not neutral, it is a small betrayal of your future self. Think of procrastination as interest on a debt, compounding silently. Every day you delay adds weight, and one day you wake up carrying a burden so heavy it feels immovable. But here lies the hope. Action breaks the chain. One step, one frog eaten. One moment of courage dissolves weeks of delay. It is not about perfection, it is about beginning. There is also the principle of preparation. Tracy reminds us that before you eat the frog, sharpen your fork. Set the stage. Clear the desk. Organize your tools. He speaks of the law of forced efficiency, the idea that there is never enough time for everything, but always enough time for the most important thing. Preparation is a gift you give yourself, not to delay action but to smooth the path for it. Think of a chef who lays out the ingredients before cooking, a painter who arranges the brushes before touching the canvas. In this readiness lies confidence, and confidence makes the frog less daunting. And there is the habit of single handling. To touch a frog only once is to finish it fully before moving on. Multitasking is a lie that scatters the mind. To single-handle a task is to give it your whole presence, your undivided attention, until it is complete. There is a deep satisfaction in this, like closing a circle, like exhaling after a long-held breath. The unfinished drains energy, but the finished renews it. The more frogs you finish, the more strength you feel, the more momentum you carry forward into your life. And yet, in the silence between tasks, something deeper lingers. The frog is not only about work, it is about facing life itself. Every person has frogs that are not written on to-do lists, but etched into the soul. The apology long avoided, the dream long postponed, the truth buried under fear. To eat that frog is not only to be productive, it is to reclaim a piece of your courage, to whisper to yourself that you will no longer run from what matters most. Brian Tracy knew that success is not a lightning strike. It is built in layers, in habits, in quiet persistence. He teaches that successful people are simply those who develop the discipline of doing first what others avoid. They are not always the most talented, not always the most gifted, but they are relentless in facing the hard thing. They do not spend their mornings circling the frog, negotiating with it, promising to return later. They eat it, and then they are free. Imagine what would happen if you lived even 1 week that way. Imagine 7 mornings of courage, 7 days of momentum, 7 evenings lighter with relief instead of heavy with guilt. It is not theory. It is transformation available to you right now. There is a mantra Tracy returns to, one worth holding close. Do the most important thing first. Simple, yes, but power lives in simplicity. If repeated often enough, it becomes a compass that guides you when distraction tempts you, when fear whispers excuses. Repeat it in your heart. Do the most important thing first. Let it become an anchor when the tide of busyness threatens to pull you under. History offers countless examples of this truth in motion. Consider Thomas Edison, who poured himself into inventing the light bulb. Thousands of failed experiments, endless nights, yet his focus remained fixed on the single task that mattered most. Each day he faced the frog of uncertainty, and each day he chose to bite into it again. The result was not only invention but transformation of human life. Or think of Steve Jobs, whose focus on clarity and simplicity turned Apple from a struggling company into a revolution. He was known for saying no more often than yes, stripping away distractions to place all energy into a handful of vital projects. That clarity of focus was his way of eating the frog, of ensuring that what mattered most received his full devotion. The discipline Tracy describes is not about cold efficiency. It is about creating a life of meaning. Efficiency without direction is emptiness. But discipline tied to your highest values, that is fulfillment. Picture yourself years from now, looking back. What will matter most will not be the small chores you completed to feel busy. It will be the frogs you ate, the hard tasks you faced, the fears you overcame, the dreams you dared to pursue. But let us pause here, because momentum without reflection is hollow. Perhaps you feel the weight of knowing you have avoided your frog for too long. Maybe there is shame in that, a heaviness that whispers, "I am too far behind, too late, too weak." Let me tell you, you are not. Every moment you live is a fresh river, a new current, a chance to begin again. You are not bound by yesterday's hesitation. The frog is still there, yes, but so are you. You are alive, listening, breathing. And as long as breath fills your body, there is power in you to choose differently. The past cannot be undone, but today can be redeemed. There is also the question of willpower. Tracy reminds us that willpower is like a muscle. Use it early in the day when it is strongest. This is why eating the frog in the morning matters. As the hours pass, decisions drain energy, distractions multiply, and the courage to face the hardest task fades. But in the morning, you are fresh, your resolve untarnished. To eat the frog then is to strike while the iron is hot, to plant your flag of victory before the world scatters your focus. Protect those first hours like sacred ground. They are the soil in which your future grows. In my own life, I remember a time when the frog sat heavy before me. It was a letter I needed to write, one that would change everything if only I found the courage to send it. For weeks it haunted me, each day growing larger in my imagination. And yet, the day I finally sat down, pen in hand, and wrote with trembling words, I realized the monster was smaller than I had made it. The frog was bitter, yes, but it was not fatal. Once swallowed, the relief was immense, the freedom indescribable. That day taught me that dread magnifies delay, but action dissolves fear. This is why Tracy emphasizes the 80-20 principle, that 20% of your tasks contribute to 80% of your results. The frog almost always lives in that 20%. Most of what fills your time does not fill your life. It is the few vital tasks, the heavy frogs, that make the difference between stagnation and progress. To identify and complete those tasks is to place your energy where it matters most. Success is not scattered across 1,000 actions. It is concentrated in a handful of meaningful ones. And still, the path is not without resistance. There will be days when you falter, when the frog seems too large, when excuses feel louder than courage. This is not failure. This is being human. The key is not to never stumble, but to return, again and again, to the practice. To begin anew each morning, to remind yourself of the mantra. Do the most important thing first. There is mercy in the morning. There is grace in the chance to begin again. Tracy also speaks of creative procrastination. Not all delay is harmful. The secret is to procrastinate on the trivial, the unimportant, the distractions. Delay the scrolling. Delay the noise. Delay the busy work that fills hours but empties life. By consciously choosing what not to do, you carve space for what truly matters. Creative procrastination is not laziness, it is wisdom. It is choosing to let the weeds grow so the flowers may bloom. The deeper truth in Tracy's message is that the frog you resist the most is often the very thing that holds the key to your growth. It is no coincidence that the task you avoid is the one that demands the most of you, because growth always lives on the far side of discomfort. Imagine standing before a locked gate, behind which lies the future you long for. The key is not in the easy pockets of your day. It is hidden inside the frog, waiting for you to summon the courage to act. When you swallow the frog, you do not only complete a task, you unlock yourself. And so, he reminds us that action is the antidote to anxiety. The longer you wait, the larger the frog becomes in your imagination. But the moment you begin, fear dissolves. Have you ever noticed how worry lives in anticipation, never in execution? You dread the phone call, but once you dial, relief washes over you. You postpone the workout, but once your body starts moving, energy replaces hesitation. Action silences the critic inside your mind. That is why Tracy urges you to break the frog into smaller bites if needed, but to start, always to start, because starting is liberation. There is also the lesson of consequences. Ask yourself, if I do this task, what will the impact be in my life? And if I do not, what will the cost be over time? When you think this way, frogs reveal themselves. The true measure of importance is not urgency, but consequence. Many tasks scream for your attention, but leave no lasting impact. The frog, however, may sit silently, waiting, yet its completion holds the power to reshape your future. Imagine the difference between answering a flood of emails and finishing the proposal that could change your career. One is urgent noise, the other is meaningful consequence. To see this distinction is to see clearly. Tracy often calls this the difference between the urgent and the important. The urgent belongs to others, it is their demands, their emergencies, their noise. The important belongs to you, is your growth, your vision, your legacy. Life tries to drag you into the urgent, but freedom comes when you anchor yourself in the important. And so, again, the mantra rings true. Do the most important thing first. Let's pause for a moment because perhaps as you hear this, resistance rises. Perhaps you think, but I am too busy. My life is filled with responsibilities I cannot ignore. I do not have the luxury of choosing. And yet, the truth is gentler than that. You are not asked to abandon your responsibilities, but to reorder them. Even if you cannot dedicate hours, can you dedicate minutes? Even if you cannot transform everything today, can you touch the frog, take a bite, move one step forward? Change rarely comes in tidal waves. It comes in drops, in steady drips that shape the stone of your life. The busyness will always be there. The choice to focus belongs to you. And when you do, something beautiful happens. Momentum. Momentum is the invisible force that carries you when willpower fades. To eat one frog creates energy for the next. Success builds on itself, like a snowball rolling down a hill. Each completed task strengthens your confidence, and confidence feeds courage. Suddenly, what once felt impossible feels inevitable. The hardest part of the journey is not the 100th step, it is the first. Once in motion, you become unstoppable. Tracy also speaks of self-discipline as the bridge between goals and accomplishment. He says that discipline is the ability to force yourself to do what you know you should do, whether you feel like it or not. And while the word force sounds heavy, there is freedom in it. Because the truth is, waiting for motivation is a trap. Motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. Discipline, however, is a choice, a commitment that does not bow to moods. The paradox is that freedom lives inside discipline. When you discipline yourself to eat the frog, you free yourself from the chains of dread, delay, and regret. And here's where the teaching deepens. Tracy emphasizes the law of three, that in your work, there are usually only 3 tasks that contribute the majority of your value. Identify them, protect them, live by them. Everything else is secondary. Imagine if every day you devoted yourself to those 3 things above all else. Imagine the compounding effect over a year, over a decade. That is not only productivity, it is transformation. You may wonder, though, how to find the strength for such focus. And the answer, Tracy suggests, is in vision. When your why is strong, the how becomes lighter. If you connect your frog to your deepest values, to the life you long to create, to the people you love, to the dream that calls youth, and the bitter taste of the frog becomes bearable. You do not eat it for the task itself. You eat it for the life it unlocks. Purpose sweetens discipline. Vision fuels persistence. This is why Tracy encourages constant reflection. Write your goals. Plan your days. Think on paper. There is a magic in moving thoughts out of the fog of your mind and onto the clarity of the page. When you write, you see. When you see, you act. And when you act, you grow. The practice of daily planning is not about rigidity. It is about alignment. It is saying, these are my frogs, and I will face them. It is reclaiming control from chaos, choosing intention over drift. And yet, even with all these tools, there will be moments of doubt. The voice inside will whisper, I cannot. I am not strong enough. But listen closely. You are. You always have been. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the choice to act in spite of it. And every time you choose, you grow. The frog does not shrink because it is easy. It shrinks because you are expanding. Each task you face stretches you, strengthens you, makes you more than you were yesterday. That is the hidden gift of the frog. It is not only about what you complete, but about who you become in the process. There is something sacred in the act of beginning. When you finally stop circling the frog and pierce the silence with action, you reclaim your life from the grip of hesitation. Tracy reminds us that the frog is never as bitter as the imagination paints it. It is the anticipation that stings, not the doing. And once you bite, once you commit, a strange peace follows. The mind unclenches, the weight lifts, and in its place comes a quiet confidence, the sense that you are capable, that you are moving, that you are alive in your own becoming. Think of the countless mornings across the world where people wake with a frog waiting for them, a student with a paper due, an entrepreneur with a pitch to prepare, a parent with a difficult conversation at work. All of them hear the croak in the background of their day. Most will delay, hoping it will fade. But those who rise and face it, they change the direction of their lives. They do not let fear decide for them. They choose courage. And courage, repeated daily, becomes destiny. This is why Tracy places such weight on routines. He knows that habits shape character, and character shapes fate. To eat the frog is not about a single act, but about building a rhythm of courage. When you turn this into a daily ritual, you no longer wonder if you will face the hard thing you simply do. Just as brushing your teeth is not a question, but a practice, eating the frog becomes part of your identity. You are no longer someone who avoids, you are someone who acts. That shift in identity is where true transformation begins. He also teaches the importance of upgrading your skills. Sometimes the frog feels overwhelming not because it is large, but because you feel small. The antidote is growth. The more you sharpen your abilities, the smaller the frog appears. Lifelong learning, constant improvement, investing in yourself, these are the ways you prepare your spirit for the tasks ahead. When you know more, when you are stronger, the frog loses its power to intimidate. And so, the practice of eating the frog is also a practice of becoming more capable, more confident, more alive to your own potential. The midpoint of this journey always carries tension. Because here is the paradox: you long for change, yet you resist it. You crave freedom, yet you fear the price. And in this space, it is easy to feel torn, to believe you are broken. But you are not. This conflict is the proof that you are alive, that you care, that something inside you is stirring toward growth. Do not despise the tension. It is the cocoon splitting open, the sign that transformation is near. So let us sit with that tension for a moment. Perhaps you are weary of failing yourself. Perhaps you are tired of making promises you do not keep. Perhaps part of you doubts that you can ever change. And yet, let this truth seep into you gently. Change is not a mountain to leap in a single bound. Change is a series of steps, small and steady, taken again and again. You do not need to swallow your whole life in one bite. You only need to eat today's frog. Tomorrow will bring another, and you will face it too. The river does not demand you swim it all at once. It asks only that you keep moving with the current. And here is the hope. Momentum grows. Each frog swallowed feeds your courage for the next. Each step taken strengthens your legs for the road ahead. You are not as far behind as you fear, because one day of true action can redeem weeks of delay. One bold morning can reset the course of your entire week. One decision can alter the trajectory of your future. You are always closer to change than you think. Consider the example of Leonardo da Vinci. who was notorious for leaving works unfinished. His notebooks are filled with ideas left untouched, projects abandoned. And yet, when he devoted himself fully, when he chose to focus, he produced masterpieces that reshaped art and science. Even a mind as brilliant as his had frogs to face. But when he did, the world was transformed. The same possibility hums in you, not to create as he did, but to become who you are meant to be. And when doubt whispers, remember this: the frog is not punishment. It is gift. It is the doorway to the life you seek. Each time you face it, you honor the future self who will thank you. Each time you resist it, you betray that self. But you can always return. You can always begin again. This is the mercy Tracy wants you to know, that today is enough, that now is enough, that you are enough to start. And so the rhythm becomes clearer. Identify the frog, prepare yourself, and then, without hesitation, swallow it whole. This act is not only about the task, but about training the soul to trust itself again. Each time you follow through, you whisper to yourself, I keep my promises. I am someone who acts. And that whisper, repeated, grows into a roar of confidence that shapes the way you move through the world. Brian Tracy also reminds us of the power of deadlines. A task without a boundary expands endlessly, looming larger until it feels impossible. But when you set a clear time to complete it, the fog lifts and urgency sharpens your focus. Think of students who procrastinate until the night before a paper is due. Suddenly they are capable of producing what seemed impossible in days. Tracy teaches us to harness that power intentionally, to create self-imposed deadlines so that energy rises before panic forces it. When you compress time, you concentrate effort, and effort births results. He emphasizes, too, the importance of environment. The place in which you attempt to eat the frog can either empower or suffocate you. A cluttered desk, a noisy room, constant interruptions, these are weeds that choke your focus. But when you clear space, silence distractions, and create an environment that honors your intention, you find it easier to act. This is why great writers guard their writing rooms, why athletes create rituals before training. They understand that environment is not neutral, it is a partner in your discipline. Another truth Tracy weaves in is the necessity of energy. You cannot eat the frog if you are exhausted, drained, and burnt out. Rest, nutrition, movement. These are not luxuries, they are the fuel of courage. How many times have you delayed the hard things simply because you had no energy left to give? The body is not separate from the will. It is its foundation. To care for yourself is to strengthen your power to face what matters most. And so, discipline is not only about doing, but also about resting, replenishing, honoring your humanity so that you can rise again tomorrow. He also teaches us to slice the frog when it feels too big. Break the task into smaller pieces and begin with the first bite. The human mind resists what feels overwhelming, but when you divide it into steps, you create momentum. Write one paragraph. Make one call. Take one step. The first bite breaks the spell of paralysis, and from there, movement carries you forward. Great projects are rarely completed in a single burst. They are conquered piece by piece, bite by bite, day by day. And then comes the practice of visualizing completion. Tracy urges us to picture the relief, the freedom, the satisfaction that will come once the frog is finished. The brain responds to vision. When you imagine the reward vividly enough, your desire to act strengthens. See yourself lighter, freer, at peace with the task behind you. That vision pulls you forward, reminding you that the pain of discipline is brief, but the peace of accomplishment lingers long. All of this, in the end, points to one truth. Life is short, and your frogs are finite. You cannot do everything. You cannot fight every battle. You must choose. The beauty of this teaching is its honesty. Success is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters most. You will never clear every task from your life, but you can clear the right ones, the ones that hold weight, the ones that shape who you are becoming. To live this way is to step out of the chaos of endless busyness and into the clarity of intentional action. And imagine how your life might feel if you embraced this fully. Imagine waking each day not with dread, but with purpose. Imagine the quiet pride of knowing you faced what others avoid. Imagine the ripple effect, more confidence, more peace, more time for what you love. This is not fantasy. This is the natural result of practicing what Tracy teaches, of eating the frog day after day until it becomes who you are. So let us bring this to you, right here, right now. What is your frog today? You already know. It is the thing your mind flinched at when I asked. The thing you have pushed aside, excused, delayed. Name it. See it. And then ask yourself, what if I began? Not tomorrow, not later, today. What if you devoted the first hour of your morning to swallowing that one bitter bite? How would your evening feel different? How would your spirit feel lighter? This is not theory. This is a choice waiting for you to make it. The choice is where everything turns. Brian Tracy insists that success is not reserved for the extraordinary. It is granted to the consistent, the ones who choose each day to act on what matters most. And this choice, repeated, becomes character. Character, lived, becomes destiny. Imagine a craftsman carving stone, not in one strike, but in thousands of careful blows. Each cut seems small, almost invisible, until one day the figure emerges, clear and undeniable. So, it is with eating the frog. Each day, one choice, one task, one act of courage, until your life itself has been carved into something beautiful and true. Tracy speaks too about the companionship of discipline and optimism. He reminds us that facing the frog is not a grim sentence, but a gift. When you discipline yourself to eat the frog, you give yourself hope. Hope that you are capable of more than you believed. Hope that you can be trusted with your own dreams. Hope that tomorrow will not be chained to yesterday's avoidance. Optimism is not naive, it is the courage to believe that today's action plants the seeds of a better future. When you live this way, each frog swallowed is not only a victory over procrastination, it is a declaration of faith in your own unfolding. And there is a lesson here in courage that stretches beyond the page. The frog, after all, is a metaphor for life's hardships. Sometimes the hardest task is not a project or an assignment, but forgiveness, healing, or beginning again after loss. Eating that frog means stepping into the pain you want to avoid, facing it with grace, and allowing growth to come through struggle. Tracy's wisdom touches these places too, even if softly, because what he teaches about tasks also applies to hearts. Avoidance prolongs the ache. Facing it opens the door to healing. You, who are listening right now, may carry such a frog. Not a task on paper, but a burden in your soul. And if you do, know this. The same principle applies. You do not have to solve everything today. You only need to begin. To take the first step toward honesty, toward courage, toward freedom. Life does not demand perfection from you. It asks only for movement. Tracy's message circles back again and again to clarity. Without clarity, the frog hides among the noise, and you find yourself busy but aimless. With clarity, you see it for what it is, and suddenly your energy aligns. Clarity is the sun that burns away the fog of confusion, and it comes not from thinking endlessly, but from deciding. The act of deciding is itself an act of courage. To choose is to cut away everything else, to say, this is what matters. And when you decide, you free yourself from hesitation. This is why he urges us to plan each day in advance. The night before, write your list. Identify the frog. Decide before the chaos begins, so that when the morning comes, you are already armed with clarity. It is not about filling the list with everything, it is about marking the frog. Highlighting the one thing that will move you forward the most. When you wake, you already know. There is no negotiation, no debate. There is only action. And in this practice, you build a rhythm of life that compounds. Imagine a year of this 365 frogs eaten. Imagine the confidence, the progress, the freedom. It is not overwhelming if you think day by day. Each day, one frog. That is all. The small becomes the great when repeated with faithfulness. As we near the close of this reflection, let me leave you with an image. Imagine a sunrise. The night before, the sky is heavy, dark, uncertain. But then, almost imperceptibly, light begins to spread. First a glow, then a blush of color, then the brilliance of the sun cresting the horizon. The day has begun. Unstoppable, alive. Eating the frog is like that sunrise. At first, it feels impossible, too dark, too heavy. But when you begin, light breaks through, and once begun, nothing can hold it back. Your day brightens, your spirit lifts, and life itself feels possible again. So here is the quiet invitation. Choose your frog. Face it, swallow it, and let the relief, the freedom, the momentum carry you forward. Do the most important thing first, and watch your life change. And when you feel resistance, remember the mantra. Do the most important thing first. Let it anchor you. Let it guide you. If this message has touched you, if it has sparked even a small light within you, I invite you to carry it further. Like, share, comment, and subscribe not only to support this work, but to add your voice to the chorus of those who are choosing courage. Share your insights, your struggles, your victories. Because your story may be the frog someone else needs the courage to eat. Together we build a ripple of transformation, one act of bravery at a time. And as you go, remember, the frog is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Eat it, and you will find yourself not only freer, but stronger, clearer, more alive than ever before. The sunrise is waiting. Step into it.